Welcome, future fluent speaker. What if I told you that the next 10 minutes could transform one of the most common, and for many, most nerve-wracking, real-world experiences from a moment of panic into a moment of pure confidence? That the simple act of ordering a meal could become your secret weapon for language mastery? Stick with me, because I'm about to guide you through every single step, every unspoken rule, and every key phrase you need to not just order food, but to own the experience. This isn't just a lesson, it's a rehearsal for a flawless performance. And your stage is any restaurant in the English-speaking world. My own journey to this confidence wasn't always smooth. I remember my first solo attempt, a crowded, noisy bistro in a city that wasn't my own. The menu was a blur of unfamiliar words, the waiter spoke a mile a minute, and my heart was pounding. I ended up just pointing at something random, mumbling a yes to every question, and spent the meal eating a dish I didn't understand. It was a low point, but it was also my turning point. I realized that ordering food isn't just about knowing the words for hamburger or pasta. It's a delicate social dance with a specific script. And once you learn that script, everything changes. The anxiety melts away, and what's left is a powerful, empowering interaction. So, let's start before we even set foot inside the restaurant. The foundation of a successful order is laid in the preparation. Imagine this: you're seated, the waiter hands you a menu, and you have about 5 to 10 minutes to make a decision while everyone else is chatting. This is the critical moment. Your first mission is to master the menu's anatomy. Don't just look at the pictures. Look for the sections. Most menus follow a universal structure. You'll typically find appetizers or starters, which are smaller dishes meant to be shared or eaten before the main course. Then comes the main event, often called entrees or main courses. In American English, entree confusingly means the main course, not the starter. This is a crucial cultural note. Then you have sides, desserts, and of course, the beverages section. As you scan, don't panic over every single ingredient. Look for the anchor words, the core of the dish. Is it a grilled chicken breast? A seared salmon fillet? A mushroom risotto? Identify the protein or the main component first. Then, you can look at the descriptions. If you see a word you don't know, like aioli or confit, make a mental note. We'll deal with that in a moment. The goal here is not to memorize the entire menu, but to find 2 or 3 potential options that look manageable and appealing to you. This pre-selection is your safety net. It prevents that deer-in-the-headlights feeling when the waiter arrives and asks, "Are you ready to order?" Now, let's tackle one of the biggest fears, those mysterious words on the menu that look like they're from another language. Words like confit, coulis, or provençal. Here's a secret: many of them are. English menus love to borrow culinary terms from French, Italian, and other languages to sound sophisticated. But you don't need to be a chef to decode them. You just need a strategy. When I see an unfamiliar word, I do one of 2 things. If I'm with friends, I might just ask, "What does confit mean?" It sparks conversation and learning. But if I'm alone or in a formal setting, I use my phone for a quick, discreet search. No shame in that. It's better than ordering duck confit thinking it's grilled and being surprised by its slow-cooked, tender nature. Understanding these terms isn't just about vocabulary, it's about ensuring you get a dish you'll truly enjoy. For instance, aioli is just garlic mayonnaise, coulis is a thin fruit or vegetable puree, and provençal typically means with herbs like thyme and rosemary. Arm yourself with this knowledge, and suddenly, the menu becomes a map of delicious possibilities rather than a maze of confusion. But knowledge isn't power until you put it into action. The moment of truth arrives when the server approaches your table. This interaction is a mini performance, and like any good actor, you need to know your lines. The first step is often just getting their attention. A simple, polite excuse me with a slight wave or eye contact is perfect. Avoid snapping your fingers or calling out loudly, it's considered rude in most cultures. When they arrive, they'll usually start with a greeting like, "Are you ready to order?" or "Can I take your order?" This is your cue. Take a deep breath and begin. I always start with a smile and a clear, "Yes, please." It sets a positive tone. Then, I state my order in a logical sequence, drinks first, then appetizers, followed by the main course. This helps the server follow along and ensures nothing is missed. For example, you might say, "I'd like to start with a glass of your house red wine, please. Then, for my appetizer, I'll have the soup of the day. And finally, for the main course, I'd like the grilled salmon with the seasonal vegetables." Speaking slowly and clearly is key, there's no rush. If you need a moment more, it's perfectly okay to say, "Could I have one more minute, please?" Servers appreciate clarity far more than speed. Now, let's dive into the heart of the order, the main course. This is where specificity is your best friend. In English, we often modify our orders to get exactly what we want, and it's not considered high maintenance, it's expected. Let's use a classic example, ordering a steak. You would never just say, "I'll have the steak." The server will immediately need to know how you'd like it cooked. This is non-negotiable. The scale ranges from rare, cool red center, to medium rare, warm red center, to medium, warm pink center, to medium well, slight hint of pink, to well done, no pink. Knowing these terms is crucial. You can practice this by saying, "I'd like the ribeye steak, please, cooked medium rare." But it doesn't stop there. Perhaps the steak comes with a side of fries and a salad. The server might ask, "What dressing would you like for your salad?" Be prepared. Common options are ranch, Italian, balsamic vinaigrette, blue cheese, or Caesar. You can respond, "Could I have the Caesar dressing, please?" This is also the moment to address any dietary needs or allergies. This is incredibly important for your health and comfort. Don't be shy about it. If you're vegetarian, you can ask, "Is the soup made with a vegetable broth, or is it a chicken broth?" If you have a nut allergy, you must state it clearly. You can say, "I'm very allergic to nuts. Does this pesto contain any pine nuts, or could you please check with the kitchen?" It's a severe allergy. Restaurants take this very seriously. If you simply don't like an ingredient, you can ask for a substitution. For example, "I'll have the pasta, but could I get it without mushrooms, or could I substitute the fries for a side salad?" The key is to use polite modals like could and can. "Can I get?" is perfectly acceptable, but "could I possibly have?" sounds even more polite. This is where you take control and craft the meal that you will truly enjoy. But what happens when things don't go perfectly? And trust me, they sometimes won't. This isn't a failure, it's an opportunity to practice the most valuable skill of all, handling misunderstandings with grace. Let's say the server mishears you and brings you the grilled chicken instead of the grilled salmon. Or perhaps your steak arrives well done when you asked for medium rare. This is a critical moment. The absolute worst thing you can do is suffer in silence and hate your meal. The best thing you can do is address it politely and immediately. First, get the server's attention again. When they come over, start with an apology to soften the request. It seems counterintuitive, but it's a social lubricant that works wonders. You can say, "I'm so sorry, but I think there might have been a small mistake." Then, state the issue clearly. "I actually ordered the grilled salmon, not the chicken." Or, "Excuse me, I asked for my steak to be medium rare, but this seems to be well done." The key phrases here are, "I think there might be a mistake," and "I actually ordered." Keep your tone calm and polite. The server is not the enemy, they are your ally in fixing this. 99% of the time, they will be apologetic and will take the dish back to the kitchen immediately to have it corrected. This is a normal part of their job. By handling it this way, you resolve the issue without creating an uncomfortable scene, and you ensure you get the meal you wanted. It's a win-win. Another common point of confusion is simply not understanding what the server said. They might speak too fast, have a strong accent, or use a slang term you don't know. Never, ever just nod and say yes when you didn't comprehend the question. This is how you end up with a side of extra spicy sauce you didn't want. Instead, have a few key phrases ready to ask for clarification. The simplest is, "I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please?" Or, more specifically, "Could you speak a little more slowly, please?" Another very useful phrase is, "I didn't quite catch that." This acknowledges your role in the miscommunication politely. If it's a specific word, you can point to the menu and say, "Could you explain what this is, please?" Practicing these repair phrases is just as important as practicing the order itself. They are your toolkit for navigating any conversational bump in the road. Now, let's move on to the final, and often most confusing, act of the restaurant experience, handling the bill. This is where all your careful practice culminates, and where cultural knowledge becomes as important as linguistic skill. The script here is crucial. In many countries, the server will not bring the bill until you ask for it. It's considered rude to rush guests. So, how do you ask? The most common and polite way is to make eye contact, give a small smile, and make a subtle writing gesture in the air. When the server approaches, you simply say, "Could we get the check, please?" In American English, it's called a check. In British English, it's a bill. Both are perfectly understood. Once the bill arrives, the next step is payment. The server will often ask, "Will that be all together, or separate?" This means, are you paying as one group or would you like individual bills? If you're with friends and you want to pay only for what you ordered, you can say, "Could we have separate checks, please?" Be aware that in some European countries, splitting the bill is not common practice, so it's best to ask politely if it's possible. If you're paying together, one person will take the bill. Then comes the question of payment method. The server might say, "I can take that whenever you're ready," and you can hand them your credit card or cash. If you're paying with a card, it's common practice in the US for the server to take your card away to a terminal and then bring it back with the receipt to sign. In many parts of Europe, they will bring a portable terminal to your table. This is a key cultural difference to be aware of. Finally, we have the topic of tipping. Tipping is a mandatory social custom in the United States, typically 15 to 20% of the pre-tax bill. In the UK and Europe, a service charge is often included, but it's still customary to leave a small extra tip for good service, usually around 5 to 10%. When you sign the credit card slip, there will be a line for tip and a line for total. Calculate the tip, write it in, add it to the original total for the final amount, and you're done. It's the final, graceful gesture that completes the interaction. You gather your things, stand up, and as you leave, a simple thank you, have a good night, to the staff is the perfect curtain call on your successful restaurant performance. But knowledge without practice is like a recipe without ingredients, it can only take you so far. This is where we move from theory to action. I want you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine yourself in a charming, mid-tier restaurant. The ambience is pleasant, the murmur of conversations surrounds you, and you are holding the menu. Now, let's run a mental simulation. The server arrives. Hello, my name is John, and I'll be your server tonight. Can I start you off with some drinks? You smile. Yes, hello. Could we please have 2 glasses of water and a bottle of the Sauvignon Blanc? Perfect. That was clear and specific. Next, the appetizers. Are you ready to order your appetizers? You look down at your mental notepad. Yes, we'll share the baked brie with fig jam, please. Excellent choice. Now, the main course. This is where you apply all the specifics. For my main course, I'd like the grilled ribeye steak, cooked medium please, with the roasted potatoes instead of the fries. And could I have the house salad on the side with the balsamic vinaigrette? Notice the structure, the dish, the cooking preference, a substitution, and a side order with its own dressing specification. This is the gold standard of a clear order. Now, imagine a hiccup. The server brings the wine and it's red, not white. You catch it immediately. I'm so sorry, I actually ordered the Sauvignon Blanc, which is a white wine. The server apologizes and corrects the mistake. No stress, no drama. You handled it like a pro. Finally, the bill arrives. You review it carefully, place your credit card down, and when the server returns, you fill out the slip, adding an 18% tip for the good service. You stand up, feeling a sense of accomplishment. This mental rehearsal is a powerful tool. Your brain is laying down the neural pathways for this exact scenario, making it feel familiar and manageable when it happens in real life. Now, let's take this rehearsal to the next level. I want you to physically practice this out loud. Find a quiet space, perhaps at home, and actually speak the phrases. There is a monumental difference between thinking the words and actually forming them with your mouth, your tongue, and your breath. Your vocal cords need the muscle memory as much as your brain does. Start with the simple interactions. Say, a table for 2, please. Then move to the more complex ones. I'd like the pan-seared chicken, but could I have it without the cream sauce? I have a dairy allergy. Hear how the words sound. Feel the rhythm of the sentence. This physical practice is what bridges the gap between knowing what to say and actually saying it with confidence when the pressure is on. To further build your arsenal, let's compile a mini glossary of essential restaurant vocabulary. This goes beyond the menu items and into the functional language of the experience. Let's start with proteins: beef, chicken, pork, fish, seafood, which includes shrimp, scallops, mussels. Then, Cooking methods: grilled, fried, baked, roasted, steamed, sautéed. These are the building blocks of any dish. Next, key adjectives for describing food: spicy, mild, sweet, savory, creamy, crispy, tender, fresh. And don't forget the utensils: fork, knife, spoon, napkin. If you need something, you can say, "Excuse me, could I have an extra napkin, please?" This is proactive language. Practice these words. Write them down. Say them. Make them yours. This vocabulary is your toolkit, and every tool you add makes you more capable and resilient in the conversation. Remember, the goal is not to memorize the entire dictionary, but to master the most high-frequency, impactful words that will get you the meal you want and the experience you deserve. The true test, and the ultimate goal, is to move beyond the scripted lines and into the realm of natural, fluid conversation. This is where you transition from being a language learner to a language user. So, let's paint a more dynamic picture. The server comes to your table and instead of the standard "Are you ready to order?" they might say, "What can we get for you folks tonight?" or "Have you had a chance to look over the menu?" This requires a slightly different response. You can say, "Yes, we have. It all looks wonderful. I think I'd like to start with the soup, please." This small addition, "It all looks wonderful," is a social pleasantry that makes the interaction feel more human and less transactional. Another advanced move is to ask for a recommendation. This not only provides you with valuable information but also creates a brief, positive connection with your server. You can ask, "What's your personal favorite on the menu?" or "Which is more popular, the grilled salmon or the chicken pasta?" Listen to their response. They might say, "The salmon is fantastic, but the pasta is our signature dish." You can then respond based on that, "Oh, in that case, I'll go with the signature pasta. Thank you for the suggestion." This entire exchange demonstrates a high level of comfort and engagement. It shows you're not just reciting lines, you're having a conversation. Furthermore, don't be afraid to use small filler words to buy yourself a moment to think. A simple "let's see" or "I think I'll" is perfectly natural and gives your brain a second to access the next vocabulary word or phrase. The rhythm of a real conversation isn't perfect, it has these small, thoughtful pauses. Embracing that will make you sound incredibly fluent and at ease. Now, let's put it all together in one final, comprehensive rehearsal. This isn't just about remembering words, it's about embodying the calm, confident demeanor of someone who owns the situation. I want you to read this entire dialogue aloud, first as the customer, then as the server. Feel the flow of the conversation. Notice how the polite requests and clear statements create a smooth, efficient interaction. Server, good evening. Welcome to the Garden Bistro. My name is Chloe, and I'll be taking care of you tonight. Can I start you off with some drinks? Hello, Chloe. Yes, please. Could we have 2 glasses of water with lemon, and I'd like to see your wine list? Server, of course. Here you are. Our Sauvignon Blanc is particularly lovely this evening. Great, we'll take a bottle of that. Thank you. A few minutes later. Server, have you had a moment to look over the menu? We have. Everything sounds delicious. We'd like to start with the roasted beet salad to share. For our mains, I will have the herb-crusted salmon, cooked medium well, please, with the wild rice pilaf. And for my friend? Your friend, I'll have the mushroom risotto. Could you confirm if it's made with vegetable stock? Server, absolutely, I can check for you. Yes, the risotto is completely vegetarian. Your friend, perfect, thank you. After the meal. You, catching the server's eye, excuse me, Chloe, could we get the check, please? Server, certainly. Will this be together? You, yes, one check is fine. The bill arrives. You look it over. You, handing over your card, we'll pay by card. Server, I'll take that for you right away. She returns with the slip. You calculate the tip, sign, and prepare to leave. You, thank you so much, everything was wonderful. Server, you're very welcome. Have a great night. This is the complete picture. From the welcoming greeting to the final farewell, you have navigated the entire experience with clarity, politeness, and confidence. You asked questions, you specified your needs, you handled the payment seamlessly. This is your new standard. This is the you that walks into any restaurant, anywhere, ready to engage, to enjoy, and to excel. And with that, our rehearsal is complete. You have all the tools, the scripts, the vocabulary, and the strategies. You've mentally walked through the entire experience, from the nervous first glance at the menu to the confident signing of the check. You've learned how to decode mysterious terms, how to specify your order with precision, how to handle mistakes with grace, and how to navigate the final bill with cultural awareness. You are no longer the person who points and mumbles, you are the person who engages, clarifies, and orders with purpose. Remember, language fluency is not about perfection, it's about connection and effectiveness. It's about getting the meal you desire and enjoying the social ritual of dining out. Every time you step into a restaurant now, see it as a live practice session. Each interaction, whether it's simply saying, "I'll have the chicken, please," or asking a nuanced question about the ingredients, is a step forward in your journey. Do not fear mistakes. Embrace them as the necessary cost of learning. The servers, the hosts, the people you meet, they are not judges, they are your unwitting conversation partners in this grand practice of language and life. Of course, let's continue building your skills. Now, let's explore a scenario that often causes anxiety when the menu is entirely in English, but the concept is unfamiliar. Imagine you're in a gastropub or a farm-to-table restaurant. The descriptions might be more elaborate, using local ingredients and creative preparations. This is where your strategy shifts from just understanding words to understanding concepts. Don't be intimidated by long descriptions. Break them down. Pan-seared Scottish salmon served on a bed of truffled cauliflower puree with haricots verts and a lemon beurre blanc. The core is still salmon. It's pan-seared. The rest are sides, a creamy cauliflower mash with truffle flavor, green beans, and a buttery lemon sauce. If you're unsure, this is the perfect moment to use that conversational skill we practiced. You can say to the server, "This salmon dish sounds interesting, but could you describe the truffled cauliflower puree for me? Is it very rich?" This shows engagement and ensures you'll be happy with your choice. Furthermore, let's practice the interaction with another staff member, the host or hostess who greets you at the door. This is your first impression. They will usually say, "Hello, do you have a reservation?" If you do, you respond, "Yes, under the name Smith." If you don't, you can say, "No, we don't. A table for two, please?" They might then say, "Smoking or non-smoking, which is now rare, or more likely, would you prefer indoors or outdoors?" You can state your preference, "Outdoors, please," or "Indoors is fine." They might also ask, "Is this your first time dining with us?" This is a great opportunity to say, "Yes, it is. We've heard wonderful things." These small interactions at the beginning set a positive tone for the entire evening. You are not just a customer, you are a guest. Embrace that role from the very first second you walk through the door. Let's delve deeper into the nuances that separate a good order from a great one. We've covered the basics of specifying your main course, but let's talk about the details that truly customize your experience. For instance, consider the humble burger. Ordering it is rarely a simple affair. The server will likely ask, "How would you like that cooked?" This applies to burgers in many restaurants, just like steak. The same scale from rare to well done is used. Then, you have the toppings. A menu might say, "Served with lettuce, tomato, and onion." But what if you don't like raw onion? You can say, "I'd like the burger, but could I have it without the onion, please?" Conversely, if you see a topping you'd like to add, like avocado or bacon, you can ask, "Is it possible to add avocado to the burger?" This proactive approach ensures every bite is to your liking. This also applies to salads and sandwiches. "I'll have the Cobb salad, but could I have the dressing on the side?" This is a very common request that gives you control over how much dressing to use. For a sandwich, you might be asked, "What kind of bread would you like?" We have sourdough, whole wheat, or rye. Be prepared to choose. Or, "Would you like fries, salad, or fruit with that?" Your ability to navigate these micro-choices smoothly is a clear sign of growing fluency. It shows you're not just passively receiving a pre-plated dish, you're actively participating in the creation of your meal. This level of interaction also demonstrates to the server that you are an engaged and knowledgeable diner, which often leads to better service. They see that you care about the details, and they will likely pay closer attention to getting your order exactly right. Of course. Now, let's explore two other crucial parts of the meal that offer rich opportunities for practice: ordering drinks and dessert. These segments often have their own separate menus and rituals. After you've ordered your main course, the server might ask, "Can I get you any drinks to start?" Or, later, "Can I interest anyone in coffee or dessert?" This is your cue to shift gears. Let's start with drinks, particularly alcoholic beverages. If you're ordering wine, you might ask for a recommendation. "We're having the salmon and the steak. What red wine would you recommend?" The server might suggest a light Pinot Noir. When they bring the bottle, they will show you the label. This is not just for show, you are confirming it's the wine you ordered. Then, they will open it and pour a small amount into your glass. This is for you to taste. You don't need to be a sommelier. Simply swirl the glass gently, smell the wine, and take a small sip. Then, nod to the server and say, "It's fine, thank you," or "Very nice, thank you." This signals them to proceed with pouring for the rest of the table. If the wine tastes sour or vinegary, meaning it's corked, you can politely say, "I'm sorry, but this tastes a bit off to me." They will almost always replace it without question. Now, for dessert. The server will often clear your main plates and then present the dessert menu. This is a more relaxed, sweet ending to the meal. You can ask, "What's your most popular dessert?" or "Is the chocolate lava cake very rich?" If you're full but want something small, you can order coffee and ask, "Do you have any petit fours or small pastries to go with the coffee?" A common phrase when deciding to share a dessert is, "We'll just have one dessert with 2 spoons, please." This communicates your intention clearly. Remember, these final acts, drinks and dessert, are about lingering and enjoying the company and the atmosphere. Your language can be a little more leisurely and conversational. You've successfully navigated the main event, and now you can relax into the role of a satisfied guest, confidently bringing the entire dining experience to a graceful and delicious close. Word count, 500. Server, can I bring you any drinks from the bar, or perhaps a bottle of wine for the table? You, let's see the wine list, please. Also, 2 sparkling waters with lime. Server, certainly. Here you are. Our Cabernet Sauvignon is excellent with the steak. You, perfect, we'll take a bottle of that. Thank you. Later. Server, have you saved any room for dessert? Our flourless chocolate cake is incredible tonight. You, it sounds tempting, but we're quite full. Could we just get 2 coffees, please? 1 black, 1 with cream. Server, of course. Anything else for you? You, no, that will be all. Thank you. Now, let's tackle one of the most socially and linguistically complex dining scenarios, ordering as a group. This could be a business lunch, a family celebration, or a dinner with friends. The dynamics change completely. Instead of speaking just for yourself, you are now part of a coordinated effort. The first hurdle is often deciding on the approach. Will you order several appetizers to share? Is everyone getting their own main course? The language here is all about collaboration and suggestion. You can use phrases like, "Should we get a few appetizers for the table?" or "I'm happy to share if anyone else is." This sets a cooperative tone. When the server arrives, the ordering process can become chaotic if not managed. A good strategy is to appoint one person to act as the conductor, or simply let the server go around the table. As the server looks at each person, they will expect a clear order. It's crucial to listen to your friend's orders, as the server might ask follow-up questions for the entire group, like, "Can I get any sides for the table?" or "Would you like me to bring out the appetizers as they're ready?" or all together. You need to be ready to respond as a group. One of the most common group dilemmas is the bill. The script we practiced earlier is vital here. When the meal is concluding, the conductor or the person who asked for the check can say, "We'll need separate checks, please," or "Could you split the bill 3 ways?" It's far easier to state this upfront than to try and calculate everything afterwards. Navigating a group order successfully, with clear communication and polite collaboration, is perhaps the ultimate test of your restaurant fluency. It shows you can handle not only the language but also the intricate social dance that accompanies it. Absolutely. Let's prepare for the unexpected. Even with perfect language, things can go wrong in a restaurant setting. How you handle these moments can define your entire experience. Let's role-play a common situation. You've finished your main course, the plates are cleared, and you're waiting for the dessert you ordered. And you wait. And wait. 10 minutes pass. The server is busy with other tables. This is not a language failure, it's a service hiccup. The key is to get their attention politely. A raised hand and eye contact. When they approach, you can say, "Hi, I'm so sorry to bother you, but we were just wondering about our dessert order. The chocolate lava cake?" This phrasing is non-confrontational. It assumes it's simply a matter of them forgetting to update you, not neglecting you. The server will likely apologize and check on it immediately. Another scenario, a member of your group has a spill. Perhaps water is knocked over. This is embarrassing, but it happens to everyone. Your reaction here is crucial. The goal is to minimize the disruption and get help efficiently. Immediately make eye contact with the nearest server and raise your hand slightly to get their attention. As they approach, you can say, "I'm so sorry, we've had a little spill. Could we possibly get some extra napkins, please?" This is clear, direct, and apologetic without being overly dramatic. The staff is trained for this. They will swiftly bring cloths and help you manage the situation. By handling it calmly and with clear language, you turn a moment of potential chaos into a minor, quickly resolved incident. These moments test your composure more than your vocabulary, but having the right phrases at the ready, "I'm sorry to bother you, we were wondering about, we've had a little spill," provides a structured way to maintain that composure and resolve the issue gracefully. Now, let's elevate your practice to an advanced level. We are going to simulate a full, multi-course meal with potential complications, requiring you to use all the skills we've built so far. This is your final dress rehearsal before the real-world performance. Imagine you are at a fine dining establishment for a special occasion. The script is more formal, the service more attentive, and the expectations are higher. The server approaches. "Good evening, and welcome to the Oak Room. My name is Arthur, and I will be your guide this evening. May I offer you our sparkling or still water to begin?" You respond, "Still water for the table, please. And we would like a few moments with the cocktail menu." This initial exchange sets a formal tone. You've used "for the table" and specified your need clearly. After ordering drinks, the server explains the evening specials in intricate detail. This is where listening comprehension is key. He describes a pan-seared foie gras with a cherry gastrique and a saffron-infused pear puree. If you miss a detail, it is perfectly acceptable to ask for a repetition. "I'm sorry, Arthur, could you repeat the preparation for the sea bass special?" It sounded wonderful. This shows engagement, not ignorance. You decide on the foie gras to start and the sea bass for your main. When ordering, you use the full, polite structure. "For my starter, I will have the foie gras, please. And for my main course, I would like the sea bass special." The meal proceeds smoothly until the main course arrives. You cut into the sea bass and find it cool in the center, a sign it was held too long before being served. This is a subtle error, not a wrong dish. You signal Arthur. "Arthur, excuse me. The sea bass is quite cool in the center. Would it be possible to have it warmed through?" This is a specific, reasonable request, stated politely. He apologizes profusely and whisks the plate away to be remedied. You have handled a delicate service error with grace and precision, ensuring your meal meets the standard you expected. This level of detailed interaction, from formal greetings to nuanced problem-solving, is the hallmark of a truly confident and fluent speaker. The ambience of the restaurant had shifted into a softer, more intimate gear. The clatter of pans from the kitchen was a distant memory, replaced by the gentle clinking of coffee cups and the low hum of contented conversation. We had navigated the main course, the potential crisis with the cool sea base had been averted, and now we were in the final, blissful act. Arthur, our server, glided back to the table, his demeanor as impeccably professional as ever. "And how was your main course?" Once rectified, he inquired, his eyes crinkling with a knowing smile. "It was absolutely perfect, thank you so much for your help," I said, and I meant it. "We couldn't have asked for better." "I'm very glad to hear that. May I interest you in our dessert menu? Our pastry chef has outdone herself this evening." He presented 2 leather-bound menus. This was the moment to practice the language of indulgence and conclusion. We scanned the options. "The passion-fruit creme brulee sounds divine," my partner noted. "And the dark chocolate and hazelnut torte for me," I added. "And 2 espressos, please." "An excellent choice," Arthur said, collecting the menus. "I'll have those out for you shortly." While we waited, I reflected on the journey of this single meal. It wasn't just about consuming food, it was a sustained, multi-layered conversation. From the initial greeting to the specific instructions, from handling a minor error to now ordering the sweet finale, every step required a different set of phrases and a different tone. This was the practical application of language in its most delicious form. Arthur returned with the desserts, each plate a work of art. The creme brulee had a perfectly caramelized sugar top, and the torte was garnished with delicate gold leaf. But then, a surprise. Along with the desserts, 2 small glasses of a golden liquid appeared. "Compliments of the house," Arthur announced. "A small glass of Sauternes, a sweet wine from Bordeaux. It pairs exquisitely with both your desserts. A perfect way to celebrate a special evening." This was an unexpected, gracious gesture. The appropriate response was clear. "That is so very kind." "Thank you so much," I said, feeling a genuine warmth. This was the kind of moment that rigid scripts don't cover, but that a confident, flexible communicator can embrace fully. We raised our glasses in a small toast, not just to the occasion, but to the successfully navigated experience itself. The language had been our tool, our bridge, and it had led us to this perfect, unscripted moment of connection and delight. The final ritual of the evening was upon us, the presentation of the bill. Arthur approached with a sleek, black leather folder, placing it discreetly on the table between us. "Whenever you are ready," he said with a slight nod before melting back into the dining room to give us privacy. This was the last test, the final application of all we had practiced. I opened the folder and scanned the itemized list. Everything was in order: the 2 glasses of Sauvignon Blanc we had initially, the bottle of Cabernet, the roasted beet salad, the foie gras, the herb-crusted salmon, the sea base, the 2 desserts, the espressos, and even the complimentary glasses of Sauternes were clearly marked, the price of 0 a pleasant sight. The math was straightforward. I placed my credit card inside the folder and set it near the edge of the table. Arthur retrieved it moments later and returned with the process slip and my card. This was the moment of truth. I carefully calculated a 20% tip, writing the amount in the designated line and adding it to the total for the final sum. The act felt no longer like a stressful calculation, but a natural and deserved conclusion to the service we had received. I signed my name with a flourish, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment. The performance was over, and it had been a resounding success. We gathered our things and stood to leave. As we walked towards the entrance, Arthur was there, holding the door open for us. "Thank you for joining us this evening," he said. I hope to see you again soon. I made direct eye contact, smiled, and offered my hand for a brief, firm shake. Thank you, Arthur. The service was impeccable. We had a wonderful time. The words were not just polite automatons, they were genuine and earned. Stepping out into the cool night air, I felt a quiet confidence that was far more valuable than the cost of the meal. I had not just eaten, I had communicated, connected, and navigated a complex social interaction with ease. The restaurant was no longer a place of anxiety, but a stage where I was now a confident speaker, ready for any role. Of course. The confidence you feel walking out of that restaurant is not a fleeting emotion, it is a skill that has been cemented through practice. But like any skill, it requires maintenance. The true mastery of this social dance comes not from one perfect performance, but from making the practice a continuous part of your life. So, how do we keep this momentum going? We integrate it into our daily routine in simple, manageable ways. First, create a personal phrase book. This isn't a daunting dictionary, it's a living document on your phone or in a small notebook. After our simulated fine dining experience, what phrases stood out? Compliments of the house, I'll have that warmed through, we'd like a few moments with the cocktail menu. Write them down. Add the new vocabulary you want to own, gastrique, tort, sauternes. Review this list for a few minutes each day. The goal is not to memorize by rote, but to make the phrases so familiar that they feel like your own. Next, and this is the most crucial step, continue the vocal practice. Language is a physical act. Every day, perhaps during your commute or while cooking dinner, practice the dialogues out loud. Don't just murmur them. Project your voice. Role-play both sides, be the confident customer and the polite server. This does something remarkable, it builds muscle memory in your tongue and vocal cords, and it normalizes the sound of these conversations in your mind. The strangeness fades away, and the phrases become natural extensions of your thoughts. Try varying the scenarios. Practice ordering a quick breakfast at a cafe, a business lunch, or a romantic dinner. Each setting has its own tempo and vocabulary. This consistent, active practice is the bridge that turns a single successful experience into a permanent part of your communicative repertoire. You are not just learning to order food, you are training your mind and voice to operate fluently under the gentle pressure of real-world interaction. The soft glow of the restaurant's exterior lighting welcomed us onto the quiet street, the doors swinging shut behind us with a solid, muffled thud that seemed to mark the official end of our performance. Leo let out a contented sigh. That was incredible. From start to finish. And you were so calm. I saw you talking to Arthur about the wine and the sea bass, and it was just so natural. I smiled, the cool night air feeling refreshing. It's all about treating it like a script we've rehearsed. And we had. Maybe not this exact restaurant, but all the components were there. The language, the polite requests, even how to handle a small problem. It's a toolkit. But it's more than that, Leo insisted as we walked. It wasn't just the words. It was the feeling. You weren't just reciting lines. You were having a conversation with him. When he brought those complimentary drinks, you knew exactly what to say. It felt genuine. He was right. That was the final, elusive piece of the puzzle, the transition from mechanical correctness to genuine connection. That's the goal, I explained. The phrases and the vocabulary are the foundation. They are the notes on the sheet of music. But once you know them cold, you can start to improvise, to feel the rhythm of the conversation and play along. You stop thinking about the individual words and start thinking about the meaning you want to convey. Thank you becomes truly grateful. I'm sorry, but becomes a genuine, polite concern. The language stops being a barrier and becomes a bridge. We reached the car, and I unlocked the doors. Before getting in, I took one last look back at the restaurant. It was no longer an intimidating fortress of unknown etiquette and linguistic traps. It was a place of possibility. Every restaurant was now a new stage, a new opportunity to practice, to connect, and to enjoy not just the food, but the entire, rich experience of communication. The confidence wasn't just for ordering food, it was a spark that would light up every future interaction in the English-speaking world. This was just the beginning. The gentle hum of the car engine was the only sound for a moment as we pulled away from the curb, leaving the warm glow of the restaurant behind. The silence was comfortable, filled with the satisfaction of a mission accomplished. I broke it, my voice calm but purposeful. That feeling you mentioned, Leo, the genuine one, that's what we need to capture and replicate. But it requires a shift in mindset. From now on, we don't just go to a restaurant. We engage with it. Every visit is a live-fire exercise, a chance to test a new phrase, to ask a more nuanced question. Leo nodded, looking out the window at the passing streetlights. So, what's the next step? We just conquered a fine dining place. Do we go back to another one? Not necessarily, I said. Variety is the key. The language of a bustling, noisy food hall is different from the quiet reverence of a sushi bar, which is different again from a family-run Italian trattoria. Our goal is to become adaptable. Next time, we should try a cuisine we're less familiar with. Maybe a Thai restaurant where we have to navigate the spice levels, or an authentic Mexican place where we might not recognize all the ingredients on the menu. The principle remains the same: scan, identify, question, and order with clarity. But the vocabulary shifts. We'll need to learn words like picante for spicy, or al pastor for a specific cooking style. It's about expanding our toolkit to new domains. This was the core of the continuous practice. It wasn't about achieving perfection in one specific setting, but about building the confidence to walk into any dining establishment anywhere in the world and know that you have the foundational skills to navigate the experience. You might not know the word for every single herb in the sauce, but you will know how to ask about it. You might not be sure about the customary tipping procedure, but you will know the polite phrases to inquire. This self-assurance transforms the entire journey of language learning from a stressful obligation into an exciting adventure. Each meal becomes a milestone, each successfully placed order a small victory, and each polite interaction a building block for your fluency. The restaurant is your classroom, and the world is your menu. The city lights blurred past the car window, a stream of gold and white. Leo turned from the view, a thoughtful expression on his face. Okay, I see the vision. But it's one thing to say be adaptable and another to actually do it. In the moment, when you're faced with a completely new menu, the old panic could easily creep back in. How do we make sure we're actually building this skill and not just getting good at one type of restaurant? This was the most insightful question yet. It struck at the heart of sustainable learning. We systematize it, I replied, my hands steady on the wheel. We turn adaptability into a conscious practice. After tonight, we have a baseline. Next time, we set a small, specific goal. It's not just go to a Thai restaurant. The goal is, I will ask the server to recommend a dish based on my preference for mild spice. Or, I will learn and use the correct pronunciation for pad cew. Or, I will confidently ask for the check in the local language if we're in a relevant ethnic enclave. I continued, outlining the plan. We keep a journal. Not a long, tedious one. Just a few notes after each meal. What phrase did I use successfully? What word did I learn? Where did I hesitate? Did I default to pointing? This reflection is what solidifies the learning. It turns a single experience into a data point for growth. Furthermore, we gradually increase the difficulty. After a successful meal at a sit-down restaurant, we might try ordering at a chaotic food truck festival where the noise level is high and the menu is on a flickering screen. That environment tests your clarity and composure under pressure. Then, perhaps, we try a place where the staff speaks English as a second language, which trains our ears for different accents and our hearts for patience and clarity. This deliberate, graduated practice is how we build genuine, unshakable confidence. The car pulled up to Leo's apartment. He unbuckled his seatbelt but didn't immediately get out. A journal, specific goals, escalating challenges. It sounds like a training regimen. Exactly, I said with a smile. Because that's what it is. You are an athlete of communication. And every meal is another session in the gym. Now, get some rest. Next week, the search for a great Thai place begins. The silence after Leo closed the car door was profound. I sat for a moment in the dim light of the street lamp, the ghost of the evening's conversation still hanging in the air. The engine ticked softly as it cooled. It was easy to lay out a plan for someone else, to be the confident guide. But the real work, the true transformation, always happens in the quiet moments alone with your own thoughts. I had to admit, even to myself, that the journey never truly ends. There is no final level of fluency. There is only a continual, gradual ascent, where the peaks get higher and the views more breathtaking. I thought back to my own early, fumbling attempts, the hot flush of embarrassment when I'd used a wrong word or completely misunderstood a question. The victory tonight felt so complete precisely because of those past struggles. Each one of those stumbles was a lesson etched into my memory, far more permanent than any phrase memorized from a textbook. They taught me resilience. They taught me that the world doesn't end when you make a mistake, it often opens up. A mispronounced word led to a patient correction from a kindly waiter. A confused expression prompted a helpful gesture from a fellow diner. The mistakes were not failures, they were invitations to connect on a more human level. This, I realized, was the most important lesson to impart, the one that underlies all the scripts and vocabulary lists. Perfection is not the goal. Communication is. The courage to try, the willingness to be vulnerable, and the grace to laugh at yourself when it doesn't go perfectly, these are the true engines of language acquisition. The words "I'm sorry, could you repeat that?" are not a sign of weakness, they are a tool of strength. The ability to say, "I don't know that word, what does it mean?" is a superpower that accelerates learning more than any flashcard app ever could. The restaurant, with its low stakes and generally forgiving environment, is the perfect training ground for this entire philosophy. It teaches you more than just how to order food, it teaches you how to be a braver, more adaptable person in a global world. Pulling away from the curb, I felt a deep sense of purpose. This wasn't just about teaching English. It was about gifting that courage. It was about showing that the barrier of language is not a solid wall, but a curtain that, with the right approach, you can simply push aside. The gentle rhythm of the windshield wipers provided a soft metronome for my thoughts as a light rain began to fall. The world outside was softening, blurring at the edges, much like the sharp lines of my initial language anxiety had softened over time. I realized there was one final, crucial practice I hadn't yet shared with Leo, something that happens after the bill is paid and you leave the restaurant, the debrief. This isn't about criticism, it's about conscious consolidation. It's the 5-minute mental review that transforms a single experience into lasting neural wiring. As I drove, I practiced it myself. I replayed the evening not as a movie, but as a series of key interactions. The first successful use of "could we have a few moments with the cocktail menu?" The confident clarification about the sea base. The genuine tone of thanks for the complimentary sauternes. I allowed myself to feel a pulse of pride for each of these moments. This positive reinforcement is vital. It tells your brain, this worked. Remember this pathway. But an effective debrief also involves a gentle, constructive postmortem. Was there a moment I hesitated? Yes, when Arthur first described the specials, the word gastrique had thrown me for a second. I had to ask for a repetition. Instead of seeing that as a failure, I noted it. Gastrique. A sweet and sour caramelized sauce. I repeated the word aloud in the car, pairing it with the taste memory of the foie gras. Now, it was mine. This is how you actively build vocabulary from context, making it sticky and memorable. You don't just forget the minor stumbles, you harvest them for learning. The goal of the debrief is to curate your own learning, to be both the student and the kind, insightful teacher who knows that growth comes from a balance of celebration and refinement. This habit, done consistently, ensures that every restaurant visit, whether perfectly smooth or slightly bumpy, contributes meaningfully to your ever-growing fluency. The rain intensified, and I focused on the road ahead, the glowing taillights of other cars creating red streaks on the wet asphalt. The journey home was as important as the journey there. It was in this quiet space that the experience settled, from a fleeting event into a permanent part of my skill set. I knew that the next time I walked into a restaurant, the ghost of this evening's success would be with me, a silent partner encouraging every polite request and every confident clarification. The cycle of practice, performance, and reflection is the engine of true mastery, and it is a cycle that never truly ends, only deepens. And so, we arrive at the end of this particular rehearsal, but as you now understand, it is merely the beginning of your own real-world performance. The scripts, the phrases, the strategies, they are all now part of your toolkit. But the true magic lies not in the memorization, but in the application. The confidence you cultivate within the structured world of a restaurant will begin to seep into every other interaction in your English-speaking life. The bank, the shop, the casual conversation with a stranger, they all operate on the same principles of clear communication, polite inquiry, and engaged listening. Remember, the goal was never just to order a meal. The goal was to transform a moment of potential vulnerability into a moment of undeniable strength. You are no longer a passive spectator in these interactions, you are the conductor of your own experience. You know how to set the tempo with a clear greeting, how to modulate the dynamics with specific requests, and how to bring the entire piece to a harmonious close with the bill and a thank you. You are equipped to handle the occasional dissonant note, a mistake, a misunderstanding, and turn it back into melody. This journey we've taken together, from that first nervous glance at a menu to the confident debrief in the car, is a blueprint. Take it. Use it. Go out and fill in the blanks with your own experiences, your own stories, your own victories. Let every I'll have the and every could I please be a brick in the foundation of your fluency. Do not fear the misstep, embrace it as the most effective teacher you will ever have. You have done the work. You have absorbed the script. You have practiced the lines. The lights are dimming, the curtain is rising, and your table is waiting. Go forth and dine, not just on food, but on the rich, satisfying experience of connection made possible through your newfound confidence. You are ready. The stage is yours.